Here is the Gamera 1996 Sendai Decisive Battle version. Here's the box. So we've got some standard fare here. Here's your manual. You can view this manual digitally on my website. If you check that out under the newest Gamera page, Sendai 1996 version, you can see that there. It actually unfolds. It's a giant page. So when you unfold it out, it's going to look like that. Let's get this open. Clamshell's nice and tight, pops right on and off. It's in there really good. You've got a little plastic piece right here that kind of protects it, the shape, and then you've got the plastic on the inside holding it together. So we're going to take this out. Easy peasy. So here's the figure. Right out of the box. Whoo! Smells definitely like it just came out of the factory, that's for sure. It looks really good. I have the original right over here on my right. I'll bring that out into comparison later, but I kind of already can tell that I'm going to like this one a lot more simply because this has a matte coating on it, and the other one's a semi-gloss coating. I don't know. I like the colors on this one already too. So inside here, we've got the Mega Beam effect right there. Over on top, they've got it nicely folded up. We've got the two wings. Got the two wings here. I think this is more protected than even the original release. I think the original release didn't have this much extra plastic on it, but there's the tail piece right there. This clamshell, just the base, the stand that it comes with, the damaged shell part, and then the stand part that goes with it as well. This is your, it's kind of hard to see, but that's what it looks like right there. Then you've got the piece for the flight mode. The base. This base, I think this base has been used at this point, recasted and reused. I don't know, at least it has to be almost 10 times by now throughout this entire line. But it still looks good, looks sharp, and I think they do a pretty good job at making them look different every time that they do it. So honestly, I'm a little bored with it. I'd rather them do something else if they're going to keep using these stands. As somebody who owns all these figures, having the same base and just different colors, it just doesn't do anything for me. Flip that around. Maybe a little hard to see, but it's basically the same except for this little part right here. It's just damaged. Just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit right there. There's the figure. Let's take a look at its head first, okay? Everybody's going to ask, I know, how are the eyes? How are the eyes? So it's kind of hard for me to tell. I will take a better look later when I'm doing photography, but it looks like these are decals and not dot matrix. So there's your eyes straight on. It looks pretty good, actually. It looks like this eye pupil, if we want to get really technical, this side might be just a little bit higher than this side. It's interesting because these are actually out more to the sides than the original release. The original release is full on straight looking forward right there. So I think this actually looks a lot better though. This looks more natural. So, but yeah, let's look at that head. Very sharp detail right there. Somebody had asked me at one point if the head was resculpted, and it is not resculpted. It is the exact same head. There's no differences there. There might have been just some trick shots with the promotional photos compared to the promotional photos of the original. Or maybe the promotional photos of the original had changed. But I'm looking at both of those releases right now, and there's definitely no changes to the actual head itself. Inside of the mouth, it's just when it comes to the paint job, it's just kind of a flat paint on kind of job. There's no shading or anything. It's just one color. It looks like there's a little bit of highlight inside of it, but I prefer the original. The original had some dry brush effects inside on that right there. The teeth look okay. They don't look bad. They are bigger teeth than most MonsterArts out there, so they look okay. So it closes nicely too. I like that. It can close very nicely right there. Not a lot of paint differences here on the chest. It was kind of like that with the original, but I think that because it's a matte paint job, there's just less detail that you see all of a sudden. I think black wash right here, if you're into customizing this, if you hit this with a black wash, this is going to bring out a lot of those extra details that we're not really appreciating right now. Let's look at the arms. The arms, they look great. The nails, the blending on the nails is fantastic, especially for a modern release. I feel like most modern releases have a hard time with blending when it comes to the nails and the spikes, but this looks okay. It's not bad. It's not just, one transitioning into another. There's a nice, decent fade right there. So here's the legs. No differences really too much with the sculpt in terms of the legs and the chest and the torso area right there. I can always appreciate with MonsterArts that they go the extra mile to actually texture the bottom of the feet. They're just not flat. The copyright info is, believe it or not, it's not on the figure itself. It's actually on the effect parts. The copyright info is on this piece right here, and it's just on the plastic. But this is made in China. It is not made in Vietnam. Yeah, look at that. I like it. I like it a lot. I like that the nails are brighter on this release. The nails, the paint on the claws, the toes, it's a lot brighter, especially even on the tusks. The tusks, it's definitely brighter up there too. The shell is still a matte coat on it. Still kind of a matte finish. A little bit maybe more reflective though. So I think there's a little bit of some semi-gloss added to it compared to the main body, but it's still mostly a matte paint job comparatively. We've got some shading that goes along these sides right here of the inside, right there. It's very subtle, but I can appreciate that. Again, I think if you added some black wash onto the back of this, it's going to make a little bit more of these details pop. The tail, it looks great. I mean, it's a short tail. There's not much to really talk about. It's got a lighter shade on the bottom, slightly darker on the top, but mostly the same color. Let's go ahead and get into accessories. We're going to open this guy up at the very end of that. I'll show you guys what the inside of it looks like, and we'll talk about paint and everything in there. So let's just move on to accessories for now. So this flame part right here, you can use this on a stand piece. There's a small hole underneath the bottom of it right there. It comes with this part specifically. The original also came with this as well. So this whole setup, so you can plug this in down here, just goes in like that. You're going to have to kind of twist it a little bit to get it in there. Don't bend it when you do it. And then you've got your fire piece right here, and you can just plug it in. So it just goes in like that. You just push that down. It's very nice that they made an accommodation right here for this flame effect so the tusk can sit just comfortably on the outside. Now, when I first set this up, I'm so used to it. When you have Godzilla figures holding this in their mouth, the beam is always kind of facing downward in a way, but this is going up, so it's a little different. So here's the beam effect once again. I've got 9 lights on this right now, so it's lighting up. I do like the transition. It's brighter towards the end, darker at the top right there. The original release was just kind of one solid color for the most part, so I can appreciate the transition right there. A little bit more lifelike. I'm going to add this on here for you guys so you guys can kind of see that. You know, it doesn't take a lot of light to really light up. You can get real creative with this. It's already lit up pretty well, though, from the studio lights around us. So here's the base piece again. It's a very orangish, yellow, burn kind of color. Whereas previous ones are more of a darker red or variants of red. So I can appreciate that this one's a lot different in coloration. Yeah, not much else to say about this. If you've never had this beam effect base, cool. It's going to be something that is versatile. You can use this with any MonsterArts figure. You don't have to have this stand for this. You can actually use the arm that's articulated. You can use those arms with this as well. That's the damaged piece right there. I mean, damaged parts are cool. They're just, depending on what the damage is, it's exciting or it's just kind of like, eh. I know this is accurate to the movie where this is where some damage took place. It is one of those things that's just kind of like, eh, to me, personally. It's neat to have. Because I have both Gameras, I'm probably going to leave this piece on this version of it. And then there's a little ball joint on the inside of that. It doesn't move. It's just a ball joint. It's very, very tiny. And it's just on a peg that doesn't move. So it just pops on and pops off. So let's go ahead and do that. So this piece, I mean, just bringing it over here, it actually popped off. But like I said, there's this part right here. And it just comes off. And this is what Gamera looks like without it. And this is like this on the original too. This piece is a floating piece. Maybe they had envisioned this back in the day, who knows? So, but it just goes on like so. Bottom part is this pointed part right here. And then the top part is this part right over here. So you just pop that on like so. Just line that up. Popped on very easily. Made a nice click sound. So there it is. There's Gamera with battle damage. You know, when you're opening up the chest, it's one of the big points is that these pieces are on ball joints and they're kind of like a hook shape. So you just need to be patient and careful when you're using this piece right here, because I guarantee you they're probably going to pop off while you're doing this to try to figure it out for the first time. It's not a system where it opens up the widest. So I know when you're doing it, you're probably going to go, I should open up a lot wider than this. What's going on? It doesn't. I mean, I guess it's accurate to the movie and how it works. What I like to do is, let's pull down this bottom piece first. Oh, see, that's what I was talking about. It's going to fall out as soon as you do that. And that's my fault because I went too far. The maximum range, like I wanted it to go further down, but that's as far as it goes right there. It will not go further down that. It will pop off. That's as far as it goes. So we're going to open this very carefully. I'm going to try to do this very carefully and succinctly. The idea is that you have to kind of like move it so it pops over. And you want to move these arms. There's a joint, the socket that floats right there. You kind of want to push that back in so you have a little bit more room to move and open these up a little bit. So, but that's as far as this opens, just like that. And same thing with this side. You want to open that. Be careful. And you can see it on the inside right there. I mean, that's as far as that opening is going to go. So, like I said, you're going to want it to go a lot further than that. But I promise you, according to the instructions, like that's as far as that these are going to open before they pop off. So, and then you have these guys down here on the sides. These are a little bit more flexible. So you can get these guys open a little bit more on the side. So you can just pull those down like that. If I can get my thumb around it. So you can move it around a little bit. Like I said, it's just, you just have to be patient with this. If you just go nuts with it right away, you're going to have pieces flying off. This piece will not fly off though. This is on a hinge. So you don't have to worry about that. It goes all the way up to the top. Same thing with these guys. These are on hinges as well. So, but this is kind of how you open it in the order. And then you pull this piece down. You can just sit it like that. So this is This is the inside, and you can move it around, just angle it a little bit more. I don't get too crazy with the angles because then it gets confusing to start putting stuff back together. So, but that's it. That's what it looks like opened up. Like I said, when you do this, part of you is going to want to open it all the way up, but that's just not how this system works. So it opens up like that. But that's the inside of it. Compared to the original, I don't think there was any light reflected paint on the inside. It was just the center. So this has got an emulated light effect on the inside. This piece, I believe it's still translucent and painted over. So if you were to disassemble it, I think you can put a light on the inside of this and it will actually light up on the inside. But that's the inner piece right there. I'm going to close this up. There is no effect piece that goes with this part right here. And so you just have to use your imagination or digital effects to do that. Okay, let's try this very carefully because I am very particular in how I do this. So I like to have these parts touch like that. And then we're going to bring this part down. Bring that back in there. It's just a little bit, see what I'm talking about? This is what I don't like, is when you're putting this back now, this piece down there is a lot, it's just like sunken in a little bit. So I get out these little tweezers like this and I can do this a little bit more effectively. Yeah. And then closing this up, close the sides. These can always move around when everything else is closed. And then just kind of lift that up over the shape right there. Lift that up over the shape like that. Honest to God, guys, that was probably the easiest time I've ever put this back together and closed it up. Oh, honestly, I was really dreading doing this piece, live. But okay, it worked. And it's fine. It looks good. It looks good. There's a little bit of a crack right there. You can adjust that with your thumb to close it up the best you can. It's just not going to be perfect. If you push it, all these parts in there, it just makes everything look gross. So that's just kind of how you have to deal with that. So when we're using the wings and the arms right here, the hands, says that we just have to pull out very carefully. We have to pull out the arms, and looks like we need to just pull up on the base of the figure, and it should just pop off the torso area. And then when you get those pieces off, you can add the wings, and we'll put that on there, and we'll get it on its flight stand, which is back here. So it recommends taking off the arms first. That was very easy to do. That was also very easy to do. Very effortless. I'll have to try to remember. It's been a while since I've done this, but I believe you just pull on it. Yep, just like that. You pull it apart. It's going to sound scary. You pull up and out. Pull up and out. Up and out. That's how you guys do that. You can see right there, I don't have a light that I can just stick in there very easily. But I believe you can stick a light behind that and it will light up. So this goes on just like so. It just plugs in just like that. Plugs in right here. Just like that. I think that's in, yeah. So what I like about this release compared to the other ones when they have flight modes, so for anybody that's curious, Gamera 3, the Gamera 3 figure, the 1999 figure, when you put these wings on, they are just on. There's no articulation or movement or anything, but I can appreciate that with this figure, there's a little bit of extra movement that you can get. Not a lot, just a little bit. You know, so you can angle it. So I can appreciate that with the 1996 Gamera figure. With the 1999, you can't. There's no way to really move it, honestly. So, but there's some wiggle room with this one. And that's why, you know, the cuts on this are bigger by comparison. So, and then the bottom piece, you know, you got 3 parts right here. Match that up with the bottom of that. And it just snaps on. Just like that. Or should, unless I'm doing it wrong. So make sure these pieces are down all the way when you put this part on. Don't do it when it's up. So you put the tail down first inside of it, and then you line that up right there. Yeah, you just need leverage. I can't do it holding it straight like this. I have to be pushing it, from above. So, but that's how you get that on. So you just stick it from the bottom and then just kind of seat it in there. Use both your thumbs and then really push really hard on that. And then make sure that these middle pieces right here are pushed below it. Make sure they're not sticking above this part right here. So you just take that, plug it in right here. When you do this, just always do it from the stand part. Don't do it from up here. You'll break that piece off. So and then just kind of twist it when you go in there. And then you should be able to just stick it on just like so. It goes right over the little engine parts where the base of the stand is right there. That is your flight mode Gamera right there. The tail on this part, it does not articulate. It's just a static piece. So you can only just move the wings. That's it. When it comes to the paint, it's slightly different right here compared to this paint job right up here. It's a little bit brighter versus this one right here, and a little bit more shiny, a lot more shiny actually than this part right here. So unless you've got light shining on it, but I don't know if you can see it on camera that well, but it's definitely shinier on this part than it is over here. First things first, let's talk about top of the head of the articulation. You've got your up and down movement. Very easy to do. I'm just doing this with one finger and it's not falling off. You can move that. Good roll of that. You can even twist this head all the way around if you really wanted to. Look at that. But it moves around quite a bit. As far as your down articulation goes, you know what? You know me, before I even start getting into articulation, I like to heat up my figure. So again, if you guys do this at home, make sure you use a hairdryer. Don't use a heat gun. I use a heat gun because I don't have time to wait, and I know the limitations of that. So only do this if you know what you're doing. And the reason why we heat our figure before then, it loosens those tight joints. It's been sitting there, the paint is fresh on this when it was out of the factory and it was needed to cool and stuff. Sometimes things get stuck. Heating this up will loosen those things up and you can get more articulation than you bargained for. But yeah, there's our head looking down. That's pretty much it. That's as far as it looks down, almost straight to the ground. Pretty close. Looking up, we can go pretty much up to there. And you can always move this neck part if it looks a little ugly because you got a gap right there. You can move this up if you wanted to. So you can move that up, cover that up. So as far as the jaw goes, it's on a hinge. It goes fairly wide. You can go all the way down like that. Tongue, I showed this earlier. It is on a hinged joint. The same hinged joint, it's just on it. You can make this go up all the way to the roof of the mouth, all the way down. There's some nice texture detail that's down here too. So, but yeah, that tongue, it does move. Closes nicely. There's no open mouth. You can close that just all the way. I like that. I like that a lot. As far as, twisting the head, you can twist that. It's great. I like it. Definitely more movement in the head, itself. The neck adds that extra little range right there. So when you can have it, let's push that limit. You can, look at that. You can have him looking all the way off to the side like that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, down here at the base, not so much. It can move. You just have to really get in there, but it can move. This part, it's not meant to move, really. It's just a floating piece. If you move the head back, it can give you that extra movement, whereas if it was the other figures that just the shell was on there, you wouldn't be able to move that neck up there. I guess it kind of has a somewhat of a function. It can move around a little bit on the backside, but it's not intended to be like, oh, I'm going to move it this way and that way. It's just a floating piece that accommodates the head movement and the neck movement right there. As far as arm articulation goes, you can get that pretty much so that he's almost touching the chest. That's pretty good, actually. I'd say that there's more movement in this figure's arm than the 1999 Gamera's arm. I remember I was struggling trying to get some dynamic poses out of that, but there's definitely a lot more movement, you know, with these arms. You've got that wrist movement. You can twist this, twist that around if you want. Gamera's just got some awkward arms in the first place, you know, but they do give a lot of extra room so that you can fiddle around with that. So you can, you know, you can twist that backwards, you can twist it forwards. Plastic is kind of like a softer, it's not super soft. It's just a softer plastic. So it's not so hard. It can flex a little bit depending on how you move these arms. Like this piece is a floating piece, but it's kind of being stretched a little bit depending on how I pose it. But yeah, both arms, you know, look at that. You can go up and down, back and forth. Surprise party look. Oh, that's as far as you go on that right there. That was my fault. So that's the arm articulation right there. There is no torso articulation in this figure. It's just a solid shell. So no torso articulation. All of your bending motion is going to come from the waist area and the neck area right there. If you're going to have it bend over. So you can have it bend over and you can get that extra down articulation like that. You know, legs move nicely. They've got a floating socket piece right here that kind of covers up that. So you can get that extra movement. You can twist this all the way around. I'm not going to, but you can. The knees are pretty stiff out of the box. That's pretty stiff. You're going to probably want to heat treat this part right here. That's really stuck. So I'm going to heat treat that later. This knee is solid. It's not bending at all. It's supposed to bend like this one right here. But yeah, so there's that. This is a nice floating piece that goes in the middle right there. You get that movement. Can go in and out. You know, when it kicks up, you can have it kick up. Not too high. I mean, that's as high as it goes. And then down here at the bottom, not too much of an ankle bend because of the way that these feet are designed. But it can bend over quite a bit, though. I'll give you that. Like you can have this almost like that. So that's pretty cool. But not too much with the barely much of an ankle bend right here on the ankles. Like you've got that. As far as the tail articulation goes, you know, you've got let's see here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you got 7 points of articulation on this guy right here on the tail. So it's not a lot. It gets the job done for what it is. I think out of all the Gamera tails, I think this one's the best tail. So you can, you know, bend it down. See how far we can get that to go downwards. That's actually pretty good. Look at that. Wow. Jeez. So you have a lot of extra, like it looks ugly. It looks ugly right there. But if you ever wanted to do this kind of a pose with your Gamera figure, you can do that with the 96 Gamera. Dang. So, but that's the articulation for this guy. Pretty straightforward. Not too much else to talk about. So let's get into comparisons with the original release. So here's the two figures right here. We have the Sendai Decisive Battle version, and then we have the OG release right here on the left. You can see the difference. You've got matte paint job finish, semi-gloss paint finish, and it's like super reflective basically with lights, not reflective. Brings out a lot of details right there. The eyes of the original, the pupil is just slightly bigger. It's slightly bigger. And it's also a different color, but it's also facing completely straight forward on the original figure. On the new one, it's slightly out. It's not all the way forward, but it's slightly off to the side. And I think this is, you know, a good example of why I don't think straight-on eyes work for all these figures. You can disagree with me if you like. I mean, some people really like it when they're looking straight on, but there's just something about just having it slightly off. I think it just looks more realistic. So as I mentioned earlier, on the inside of the mouth of this one, the hinge jaw is painted, whereas the new one, it's not painted. It's just a black piece. If that bothers you, I mean, try not to let it. You're never ever going to see that piece, really, honestly. The blending on the inside of the mouth in the original is a lot better, in my opinion, especially on the sides. I'm going to point out with the tweezers here, especially right here. The blending into the figure looks a lot cleaner, more natural. This new one, the blending it's just not there. It's like a hard stop. The paint just stops right there. You wouldn't notice it unless you had both of them, though. There's not a whole lot going on when it comes to different kind of shading, but this one, the OG, has a lot of different shades of browns and olive green colors throughout the whole entire body. It's just that it doesn't show up on camera as well because of the reflection. But you can see kind of what I'm saying, like, especially, let me just point it right here. So especially like right here, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. There's like that brown color, that olive brown color, and then it kind of goes in that. And it's also on the back of the neck right here as well. Even on the shell, when you compare the shells of these guys right here, I actually think I like the shell better on this new release right here. So, and I'll show you why. This one, there's not really any shading on this at all. If it looks like shading, it's just shadow from the lights. There's barely any shading on this. It's just one all solid color, except for the top of it. The top of it is got this olive brown kind of shading. And it's very inconsistent with the rest of it. This is the original release right here. On the new release, you do have some shading that kind of goes down the middle of these spine section parts right there. And it's consistent at the top. It's consistently done at the top. So I appreciate that as well. You know, it just depends on what you like. If you like the darker, it's like a dark bluish green on the OG. And it's like the olive color, the olive brown, greenish color. I'm not a Gamera expert, so I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you which one is the more accurate paint job off the top of my head. If I had to pick one, I like this one's better. It's more of a bluish kind of color, a bluish grayish kind of color, whereas this one's more of a brownish kind of coloration. I don't know. I just kind of like this one a lot better. So I'm going to show you guys the tusk on the OG first. So there's a lot of shading that goes right there. It's very deep. And then on the new one, significantly less shading on that. It looks good still in its own right. It still looks good. It's just that it's just not as deep. It's still got some blending there. It just blends a little shorter, but it doesn't look bad, in my opinion. I think it looks fine. So the eyes of the original, they're a green, a dark green coloration right there. And then the eyes for the new one are a light blue. So I believe that a lot of Gamera fans out there have pointed out that Gamera's eyes are more like the original release's colors throughout the movie, this bright blue. So that is not an accurate coloration, but I think that's just kind of what they do when they do their redecos or this kind of stuff. So, you know, if you're wanting a definitive version of this figure, colors wise, it's probably going to be the OG. It's probably going to be the OG. Beyond that, it's preference, because this is scene specific. Let's look at the elbows really quick. I actually prefer the elbow paint on this one, at least the shading part of it. I wish it was a little bit brighter on the tip, but I prefer that shading because when we look at the new one right here, it's not a lot. It's very minimal. And let's look at the other side too. The other sides, there's a little bit more. And that can vary between figure to figure. Like another figure of this might have more shading on it. Just this version of it that I have just doesn't have that much on this side compared to, you know, the opposite side. This one on the original has way too much on this side, and it's not so bad on this side. But yeah, let's look at the nails again. I think that the brighter transition looks better on this guy right here, though, because it's still got that dark shading right there. And I think it transitions just nicely. Yeah, I like that on this new one. It's not bad, though, on the original. It's still not bad. It's still not bad. It's definitely a lot darker on the original. So on the torso right here, as I mentioned before, there's no shading. It's just one flat color. This is the original. It's just a flat color. Nothing there on the original. And even on the new one, it's just not a glossy paint job on the new one. That's all. they're very close to being the same color. This one right here is more of a green, and this one's more of a darker olive brown. But they're fairly similar. The reflection just makes this one look a little different, but this one's mostly the same right there. So here's the feet of the original. It's not bad. It's not bad. There is some highlights throughout the leg, though, where you get some browns over the darker greenish gray colors. On the new one, you know, it's just a brighter transition. It's not bad, though. It's just like the upper claw area. There's a little bit more of a bluish tinge, a bluish tint throughout. There is some shading on the legs. It's just more of that bluish style instead of the olive green color. But there's some shading effects, some weathering effects throughout the knees and in the crevices right there. The OG tail compared to the new tail. Just a matter of preference. I don't think either figure looks dramatically terrible compared to the other ones. It's just differences, like some parts of one figure look better than the other and vice versa. Let's look at the inner shell. So the original, there's no light effect painted on it. It's just the piece on the inside. And some people like that. I think back in the day when this came out, people were kind of complaining that there was no lighting effect on it. That was just kind of there. I think it's fine if you want a non-lit up version of it. And you can still, like I said, you could put an LED on the inside of this, open it up, and it will light up. It's translucent on the inside of it. So here's the new one right here. Which one do you guys like? Do you like the one without the light lit up, or do you like it with the light lit up? You know, originally I was siding with this one, but I actually do like the one that's lit up more. So I'm a fan of this. Call me a fan of the new one. That is pretty much it for the paint on those right there. I'm going to switch these into flight mode, and we'll compare those as well. So the original, like I said, it is a darker red coloration. You can see, just kind of like what I was mentioning earlier, like this is just, it's not one solid color, but it's mostly one solid color. And this one's got a lot of transitional oranges and reds in there, but it's definitely a lot more of a yellowish orange color. Original here on the left, and then you have the new one on the right. If you have both of these figures, great. You've got some options to try out right here. Whichever one that you can mix and match, however you feel. Honestly, I kind of like this one still a lot better, though, because I just like the deeper reds. But this one's cool, too. I like the transition of a darker orange to a yellowish orange color at the top, so it's not bad. You know, there's not much to really say. On the original, there is no shading on these arms at all. It's just one solid color. That's it. But on the new one, you have some shading on the top and the bottom. And on the tail piece, you know, just one's brighter than the other. Again, those tails don't articulate. But yeah, here's the close-up of those arms. You see, you got that shading on the bottom and the top. That's the new one. And then we go to the old one right here. And there's just no shading on it at all. It's just one solid color. But that's pretty much it, guys, with these two figures. So I think overall my thoughts are that I prefer the new one over the original. So this is the Kyoto 1999 Gamera compared to the 96. Very shiny back on the original. I just like the shell too. It's just so much more edgy. Yeah, as far as design goes, this is my favorite Gamera. The 95 Gamera, it's got a significantly bigger... It's funny, as the Gamera trilogy went on, the head got smaller. The coloration of this Gamera actually matches this one. They actually look very nice together. When they did the 95 Gamera figure, the same body, legs, and even the arm parts right here, they are the same as this figure right here. It's the same mold. Even the feet, they're the same. So this is what it would look like if the chest wasn't articulated on this guy right here. It would just be shut like that, but it's the same, it's the exact same mold. They just closed it up is all. The only thing that they added differently was the head. The head right here and the hands on this figure. Those are obviously brand new. I think, and the neck, obviously, the neck is different too. So brand new neck part, head part, the arm up to here, basically up to the elbow is, you know what, this part up to here is different too. But the socket part's a little bit different. The legs are the same, but the shells, they're also the same. It's the same shell. Same shell. It's got the same floaty piece up here at the top. Same backside. But again, it's a matte finish. And it's got nice shading. Interesting, though. The shading is on the inside. And it's on the spiky part on this figure right over there. But it works both ways, honestly. Definitely a lighter green color. Yeah, the articulation, it's pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same. You know, the arms are smaller on this one right here. So, you know, I mean, it's just not that much different, even though it's a little bit thicker on these ones right here. I would say that you could probably get a little bit more range out of this one right here. I haven't moved in a long time, so it's really, really stiff. But I recall when I was moving it around in the very beginning, there was a little bit more movement in the arm area right here. But as far as the legs go, it's the same tail, same articulation. It is the heaviest of all the Gamera figures, this guy right here. Like, if you want a Gamera figure that's done very, very well, it's this guy. This is the one that's definitely done the best. I mean, it's just a very, very large figure. Look at that. Oh my God. It's huge. Grab this figure if you can get it. It's mostly out of print at this point. I think there's only 2 places that carry it at retail still. So if you can nab this figure, don't wait on it much longer. Or the 99 Kyoto version. Definitely grab those 2. So we'll bring Iris out. What? He wasn't going to do that. He didn't say he was bringing out Iris. Look at that. What? What? Yeah, I brought out Iris. Iris is kind of a unique figure. It's like not a huge figure, but it's got a lot of tentacles, so it makes it look a lot bigger. So that is going to wrap it up for our figure showcase of the 1996 Gamera Sendai Decisive Battle figure. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining the stream today. I really appreciate it. So it's always fun to share my love of the figures with anybody else that's interested in them. So thank you so much. And until next time, we'll see you later.